Hello everyone, welcome to another video. This also will be continuing with the unit 2 part. Last video also we were discussing on the important questions from unit 2. So the rest of the unit we will be discussing in this video, that is mostly dealing with the decision issues, how we take decisions and based on the economic principles. So let's get started. So what exactly is decision making by firms? When you think about a decision, any decision, be it something as big as introducing or recalling a product or a product line, or even changing the supplier of office supplies, maybe pen or notepads, whatever it is, maybe small, maybe large, there are a lot of types of decisions that a firm needs to take. So how are these decisions taken? How are such problems solved? How we do that is what we are trying to understand here from the economist perspective. Okay, so when you think about decisions from firms, it happens on the basis with a lot of constraints in place, like maybe this supplier is linked to somebody which you cannot put in the bad books of, or things like that, or maybe this product is working very well in such a market and maybe it is not doing so well in the other market, so should we recall it altogether or not? Maybe certain ingredients of a particular product is not permitted in a particular country or a particular place, but it is okay in some other places, so what should we do? Lots and lots of constraints from internal as well as external sources, right? Maybe one of the suppliers is your uncle's friend, simple. So even though you know that you might get a better deal off from somebody else, maybe it depends upon what terms you and your uncle are, you might not want to piss him off, things like that, right? Lots of constraints. This is a very simple fun example I gave you just to make you understand. So decision making by firms actually takes place under several restrictions or constraints. So as it is, there are a lot of economic principles which are in place right now from economists across the globe, across ages, that kind of like gives a guidance or an aid to our managers or decision makers to help them make decisions, tough decisions. So a few of them we will see here. First is incremental principle. So what exactly is the incremental principle? To put it in the most simple terms, incremental principle is how much extra should we produce to get the best profit, and what would be the extra cost that we have to bear for this extra production. Like for example, if you are, let's take the example of Sattvic Sweets, which we introduced in the last video, right? So suppose say Sattvic Sweets is making some Sattvic cakes, I don't know, just let's imagine Sattvic cakes, it's a thing. Okay, so it's something which is good in the market, like a lot of people are buying, okay, along with some other products, Sattvic donuts, which is almost like having a good standing of its own also. And let's say Sattvic Sweets and Sattvic donuts both have the same ingredients. Then should I produce extra Sattvic donuts or extra cakes? And if I have to produce extra of them, or if I have to reduce a few numbers of them, then how much extra should I produce? And to produce that much extra, what all inputs will I have to use? Maybe I'll have to buy a new equipment, maybe I'll have to buy bigger trays, okay? And if I am buying those things, that amount of money, is it worth, or is it reasonable to spend that much amount of money? Will it give me that much better returns? All those kind of questions will come up in our minds, right, if we were the owners. So that is what incremental principle is trying to make you think about. So the main objective is for any firm maximization of its profits, and for maximization, if we are going to increase the number of products or the product line, whatever, increase the output, then we have to also consider the effects of that incremental cost as well as incremental revenue. So according to this principle, what it says to us is that, see, you go for incremental production changes or incremental changes in your production, be it up or down, that is increase or decrease your production, if and only if through that incremental change you're getting an incremental increase in your revenue, right, more than the incremental increase in your cost. So ultimately your revenue should be more than your cost involved when you do bring forth that change, or you should be able to cut costs in some places, or you should be able to increase revenue in some places. Okay, so these are the four combinations of these things is incremental principle is saying to go forth and take that decision only if it increases the revenue more than the cost, or it decreases certain costs more than, maybe let's say if you are let's say you are making more cakes, okay, so definitely you will need more sugar, maybe you will need to get a baking tray, so all those costs, but at the same time maybe you will be able to better utilize your oven, correct? So your oven capacity might not, will become more utilized. So this marginal increase in the cost, or maybe even delivery, okay, since you are anyways going and distributing your cakes across shops, this increase in production may be able to use that trunk space much better, things like that. So even though it increases certain costs a little bit, it decreases other costs at a greater extent. Or it increases certain revenues more than it does others. It reduces the cost more than it reduces the revenue. Okay, maybe if I am cutting out one batch of cake, anyway, since if those cakes were not selling, let's say every day I am getting around let's say 10 or 20 cakes extra. If I am cutting my production by those many number of cakes and rather using it to buy donuts, which almost always goes out of stock fast, then the decrease in revenue from the cakes might be what you can say overcome by the increase in revenue from the donuts, things like that. So those kinds of what you can say situations, or those kinds of thought is what incremental principle is asking you to consider. I hope you got the idea. Okay, next comes the equimarginal principle. According to this, it states that consumers will choose combinations of various goods in order to achieve maximum total utility. That is true in our case also, right? Suppose say your mom or your dad, or maybe you yourself from your salary took out 1,000 rupees and you are thinking that you will get yourself a gift. Okay, then that 1,000 rupees, let's say, or you got a gift card from your company for 1,000 rupees. I myself have done it so many times. Recently I got a gift card, okay, and with that gift card was worth 1,000 rupees, you might have guessed. So what I did, it was an Amazon gift card. I went and I was searching for products such that I am able to get the maximum utility out of that 1,000 rupees, right? I was trying to find out those products such that in my cart at least 999 is there, or at least 1,001 for me from my pocket, not more than 50 rupees, and I should get everything which I have wanted, some books and stuff like that. You know, I have a very boring shopping list, lots of books and things. So that's what we do, right? If we get something. Similarly, equimarginal principle is asking us to use that, is saying that your consumers will be doing this thing, so you be mindful of it and accordingly you adjust your things, right? And it is also asking the companies also to make sure that your inputs are also utilized in that way. Okay, so that is why equimarginal principle is one such thing where it is applicable to both consumption function as well as production function. Consumption function is what I told right now with that 1,000 rupees gift card. Production function is where if you are the owner of Sattvic Sweets and you have say 5 kg of flour and 5 kg of sugar, and you will be producing cakes and donuts with that, then you will be trying to produce those many number of cakes, X number of cakes and Y number of donuts, such that the total revenue you get from X and Y will be at the highest. So that is what Marshall also said. According to Marshall, if a person has a thing which he can put to several uses, then he will distribute it among these uses, those several uses, in such a way that it has the same marginal utility in all. Okay, so I hope you understood this. Equimarginal principle was, I guess, an assignment question. Okay, so we might we can expect it in our examination paper as well, because assignment questions have had a tendency to repeat in the examination papers as well. So if at all a question like that comes, be it by incremental principle or equimarginal principle or any other principle, you can write all these stories and keep and make your answer blow up, okay, bigger. The next one is the discounting principle. So if a decision, according to this principle, if a decision affects the cost and revenue in the long run, okay, that is any decision that we are taking today, if it is going to affect your production capacity or your cost even after 5 or 10 years, that is what it means. Like maybe you are selling an equipment, or you are trying to, or you are buying something new, or you are changing your supplier, or you are trying to introduce a new product, or some sort of a change in your ingredients, such things, right? If it affects the cost and the revenue in long run, then all that cost and revenue must always be discounted to the present day value, and so that you will be able to do a valid comparison. Like for example, if today you are able to cut the cost of, let's say, 1,000 rupees, okay, Then after 5 years also, if you are able to cut a cost of only 1000 rupees, then you think about it, according to the value of money, time value of money, 1000 rupees today is much more worth than 1000 rupees after 5 years, right? So we'll have to rethink our decision perhaps, or think more on it, right? These principles are there to help you or nudge you to think more on certain lines before you take a decision, so that you will become better decision makers. That is the ultimate aim of all these principles, right? These are all guidelines. These are all like, friends you can think of, like who sit there at the back of your head and are trying to guide you, trying to prompt you, so that you can take better decisions and become better managers, even better decision makers in your own life when you have to take some decisions, right? Think about this, think about that. Did you think about this? What if this happens? Are you considering this? Such guidelines, correct? So that is the discounting principle. Then there is another concept called as the invisible hand. Okay, so that is, according to that, what they are saying is that you take a free flowing economy, okay, a free flowing market which does not have influence of anybody. Okay, there is no government, no external agencies, no terrorists, no politicians, nothing. Okay, just the economy. Okay, so according to this principle, okay, what happens is that after a certain point of time, you will find that the economy has found itself in equilibrium. So it is like the market is one such place where if you leave it undisturbed, if you leave it to work according to its own self, then after a while it will find itself in equilibrium, just like a pendulum, you can say. If you don't keep pushing the pendulum or the swing, okay, what will happen after a certain time, that swing will come to a halt on itself, by itself, right? And it will be stable there unless you go and push it again, correct? That is the same thing that is being told by that this invisible hand principle also. So this invisible hand is kind of like a metaphor for those unseen forces which move the free market economy. Like, for example, you think, okay, there is no government or any other external intervention. There are a few sellers in the market and few buyers. Even if one person spikes the price for something, okay, what will happen? There might be other people who come and give the same product for a much cheaper price. Then this guy will have to reduce his price, and then or maybe one thing is abundant, okay, at one point it will become scarce, so again the price will go up. So this scale is there, right? Consumers and producers, consumption function and production function, that scale will at one point of time become stable, unless there is some external agency, maybe famines or floods or some government policies or something, extra war or something like that, or changing times, or changing concepts and changing needs and demands and things like that, or upgrading technology or something like that. Some external force comes and disrupts that equilibrium. Unless and until that, the market will find its own equilibrium. That is what it means. I hope you understood the concept of invisible hand. Then another concept which is most important is about the linking of economic theory and decision sciences. Like, how is this economic theories like equilateral principle or cost functions, production functions and laissez-faire and all those umpteen number of things, how are they linked to decision making? How are they linked to us managers? Okay, so the thing is that us managers, our firms or as managers, we will be faced with a lot of problems day-to-day basis, where we'll have to make decisions, and almost all the decisions that we take in the firm or in our life will have an economic impact. A financial impact will be there. So in that case, how will we take decisions that are good enough, decisions that will help us not just today but tomorrow also, or decisions that will not help, that will not hurt us in the long run? How do we take that, such decisions? Such cases, what will happen is that we have a lot of concepts, right? Starting from your first semester onwards, you've been studying regressions, studying cost analysis, studying data analysis, forecasting techniques, decision trees and whatnot, PERT and CPM and stuff like that. All those things help us take decisions. Now, okay, they all help us take decisions, but on what basis do we take those decisions? Based on the data. Now, from where do we get the data? That is the economic theory, right? So economic theory and decision sciences, they both come together in the form of managerial economics and help us managers to find solutions to those problems which we are faced with. Okay, so that is how economic theory and decision sciences get linked. So if the question comes about managerial economics also, you can write about this linkage between economic theory and decision sciences. Okay, so that was, with this video we have covered, I think, almost all the important topics there is in unit 2. I hope you found this useful. So the pattern that I've observed is that for economics, this managerial economics paper, I guess you'll get 8 questions or so, and we have 4 blocks. If you look at the previous year's question papers closely, you will find a pattern, like at least 2 questions will come up from one block. Okay, so block 1 has 3 units, unit 1, unit 2, unit 3. Unit 3 I will be covering in another video. So if you study these 3 units thoroughly, that is one block, block 1, then you will be able to write answer for at least 2 questions, the first 2 questions. Generally that is the pattern. Okay, so what I mean is that even though you are not able to study all the 4 blocks, 5 blocks, systematically find out which block is the easiest for you to grasp, and whichever block you choose, study that thoroughly. At least 2 blocks, 2 to 3 blocks if you study, then you will definitely get good marks. You can even skip one block completely, I would say, then also it will not hurt your passing, but this is just for passing. Okay, so you can try that if you guys have time constraints, I would suggest. So that's it for this video. I hope you found this video useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you and bye bye.